The Siege of New Geneva. The mining colony of New Geneva hung like a jewel against the darkness of space, its surface scarred by months of relentless bombardment. 50,000 human souls called this world home, scratching out a living from the rich mineral deposits buried deep in its rocky crust. Now, as War Commander Thexfar gazed down at the battered planet from his flagship's command deck, he allowed himself a satisfied growl. The siege was nearly over. "Report," Thexfar commanded, his four arms gesturing impatiently at the tactical display. The Krillian Empire's finest warships formed a perfect blockade around New Geneva, their crimson hulls gleaming like drops of blood against the stars. 200 vessels strong, it was more than enough firepower to crack a dozen worlds. "Surface bombardment continues on schedule," War Commander reported his aide, a nervous young officer whose scales still bore the bright green of inexperience. "Their defensive systems are at 30% capacity. Ground assault can commence within 2 rotations." Thexfar's mandibles clicked in amusement. 3 months of siege, and the humans still refused to surrender. It would have been admirable if it weren't so pointless. The galaxy knew humans as scavengers and miners, barely worthy of notice. They had no great fleets, no powerful weapons, no mighty warriors. They were simply there, like space dust or cosmic background radiation. Far below on New Geneva's surface, Colony Administrator Sarah Chen crouched in the reinforced command bunker that had become her world. The constant rumble of alien bombardment shook dust from the concrete ceiling, and emergency lighting cast everything in hellish red shadows. At 45, Sarah had spent most of her adult life building this colony from nothing. She would die before she let the Krillians take it. "Status report," she called out to her exhausted staff. Security Chief Marcus Torres looked up from a bank of damaged monitors, his weathered face grim. "East Mining Complex is gone," Torres reported, his voice hoarse from breathing recycled air for weeks. "They hit the residential district again. Casualties are light because everyone's down here, but we're running out of places to hide." Sarah nodded grimly. The colonists had converted every mine shaft, utility tunnel, and basement into emergency shelters. Families huddled together in spaces meant for equipment storage, sharing dwindling rations and trying to keep their children calm. The youngest didn't understand why they couldn't go outside to play. The oldest remembered Earth and wondered if they would ever see blue skies again. "Any word from the outer colonies?" Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. The Krillians had been thorough, jamming all communications and destroying every satellite. For all she knew, New Geneva was the last human outpost in this sector. "Nothing," Torres confirmed. "The bastards have us cut off completely. Even if Earth knew what was happening, help is 6 months away at best." Sarah stared at the tactical display, showing Krillian ships in perfect formation above them. 6 months might as well have been 6 centuries. Food would run out in 2 weeks. Water recycling was already operating at emergency levels. The colony's fusion reactor was damaged and running on backup power. They were dying slowly, and everyone knew it. That's when Sarah remembered the beacon. In her private office, buried under months of emergency reports and evacuation plans, sat an artifact from New Geneva's early days. The colony's first administrator had installed it with great ceremony 20 years ago, calling it their lifeline to home. It was supposed to be some kind of emergency transmitter, but in 2 decades, no one had ever used it. Most people forgot it existed. Sarah brushed the dust from the small device. It looked ancient compared to modern communications equipment, all brass fittings and crystal components. The manufacturer's plate was worn almost smooth, but she could still make out the words "Quantum Beacon, Model Key 7, Property of Earth Defense Command." "Marcus," she called. "Come look at this." Torres examined the device with skeptical eyes. "That old thing." "Sarah, our main transmitters can't punch through their jamming. What makes you think this museum piece will work?" "Because it's not trying to broadcast through normal space," Sarah realized, running her fingers over the quantum crystals. "This is quantum entanglement communication. It doesn't go through space at all. The beacon hummed to life when Sarah activated it, ancient circuits warming up with surprising efficiency. A small screen displayed a simple menu. Emergency protocols. Select message type. Sarah selected colony under attack and felt the device pulse with energy as it sent its cry for help across impossible distances. High above, War Commander Thexfar's communications officer detected the quantum burst. War Commander, the humans have transmitted something. It appears to be some sort of distress call. Thexfar laughed, a sound like grinding stone. Let them call. Their nearest allies are systems away, and we control all the hyperspace routes. Even if someone receives their message, no help will come in time. The War Commander was looking forward to the ground assault. His troops had been cramped aboard ships for months, eager for battle. The humans would fight, of course. They always did, but it would be brief and futile, like watching insects struggle against the inevitable boot. Down in the colony bunkers, children pressed their faces against reinforced windows, watching alien fighters streak across the sky. Their parents tried to comfort them with lies about rescue ships coming, but everyone knew the truth. They were alone, millions of light years from home, facing an enemy that outnumbered them 1,000 to 1. Sarah Chen stood in the command center, surrounded by displays showing their desperate situation. Food stores critically low, medical supplies nearly exhausted, defensive weapons down to 20% capacity. The numbers painted a picture of inevitable defeat, but she refused to give up hope. "Ma'am," called out communications specialist Rivera, her young voice tight with excitement. "I'm getting something weird on the quantum scanner. It's like echoes, coming from the direction of Sol." Sarah's heart leaped. Echoes of what? I don't know. The pattern is too complex for our equipment to decode. But there's definitely something out there, moving fast. Multiple contacts, maybe dozens. War Commander Thexfar was reviewing assault plans when his sensor officer reported the anomaly. Unknown contacts detected at the edge of the system. Configuration uncertain. They appear to be moving through folded space. The War Commander's 4 eyes narrowed. Folded space travel was theoretical, far beyond what humans should possess. "Show me." The tactical display showed faint ripples in space-time, like stones dropped in still water. Whatever was coming was using technology that made hyperspace look primitive. But that was impossible. Humans were scavengers, not technological innovators. "Maintain blockade formation," Thexfar ordered. "Continue bombardment. Whatever this is, it changes nothing. The humans are defeated." But deep in his warrior's heart, something cold began to grow. In 50 years of conquest, he had learned to trust his instincts. And right now, those instincts were screaming that something terrible was about to happen. Sarah Chen felt it too, standing in her underground command post as alien bombs shook the world above. The quantum beacon on her desk pulsed steadily, its ancient crystals glowing with inner light. Whatever was coming, whatever her desperate message had awakened, was almost here. The colonists of New Geneva huddled in their shelters, counting down their final hours. Above them, 200 Krillian warships prepared for the killing blow. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, shadows were moving with deadly purpose. The siege was about to end, but not the way anyone expected. The silent storm. 6 months earlier and 65 light-years away, Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the observation deck of humanity's most secret facility. The Titan shipyards floated in the empty space between Pluto and the heliopause, hidden behind sensor scramblers and gravitational shields that made the entire complex invisible to casual observation. Here, in the cold and dark at the edge of the solar system, humanity had been building its most ambitious project. Elena was 58 years old, a veteran of the border wars who had seen too many good people die fighting aliens who thought humans were weak. The scars on her face told stories of boarding actions and desperate battles, each one a lesson in what happened when humanity was underestimated. She had spent the last decade making sure it would never happen again. Fleet status. Commander Price. She asked her second-in-command, a lean man whose cybernetic arm bore the marks of Krillian torture. All 60 ships of Ghost Fleet are ready for deployment, Price reported. Crews are aboard, quantum drives are charged, and stealth systems are at full capacity. The ships are hungry for payback, Admiral. Elena nodded grimly. Ghost Fleet represented 50 years of secret research and development. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, incorporating technology reverse-engineered from captured alien vessels and improved with human ingenuity. They could fold space like origami, strike without warning, and vanish before enemy sensors could track them. The ships themselves looked nothing like traditional human vessels, where most space-going craft were bulky and industrial. Ghost Fleet ships were sleek and predatory. Their hulls absorbed sensor waves like black holes, and their quantum drives could manipulate space-time itself. Each vessel carried enough firepower to level a city, but they were built for precision rather than destruction. "Ma'am," called out Communications Officer Chen, "we're receiving a priority alpha quantum burst from the Vega sector. It's a colony under attack." Elena's blood went cold. New Geneva was more than just another mining colony. It was home to 50,000 civilians, including the families of Ghost Fleet personnel. Her own daughter lived there with her grandchildren. "Display the message," Elena ordered. The holographic display showed a simple text transmission. "New Geneva under siege by Krillian Fleet. Request immediate assistance. Colony Administrator Sarah Chen, New Geneva." The command center fell silent. Every person in the room had friends or family on New Geneva. This wasn't just another military operation. This was personal. "How long to reach New Geneva at maximum fold?" Elena asked. 18 hours if we push the drives to redline. Price answered immediately. "The quantum tunneling will be rough, but the ships can handle it." Elena stared at the star chart showing New Geneva's position deep in enemy territory. The Krillians control that entire sector, with patrol fleets and sensor networks throughout the region. A conventional rescue would be suicide. Fortunately, Ghost Fleet was anything but conventional. "All ships, prepare for emergency deployment," Elena broadcast across the fleet. "This is what we've trained for, people. Time to show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens our own." The Ghost Fleet ships began their transformation sequence, hull plating shifting and reconfiguring as stealth systems activated. Within minutes, 60 vessels had vanished from normal space, becoming invisible to every known form of detection. They were there but not there, existing in the spaces between reality. Meanwhile, at New Geneva, the final assault was beginning. War Commander Thexfar watched his ground forces launch from their carriers, thousands of Krillian shock troops descending toward the planet's surface like angry meteors. Victory was moments away. "Sir," reported his sensor officer, "I'm detecting quantum disturbances at the system's edge. Multiple contacts, but the readings are strange." Thexfar dismissed the report with a wave of his hand. "Sensor ghosts. The quantum bombardment must be causing interference. Focus your attention on the assault." But the disturbances weren't sensor ghosts. Space itself was rippling as 60 ships emerged from quantum fold, their arrival silent and invisible. The Ghost Fleet had learned the art of war from humanity's greatest teachers: desperation and fury. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of her flagship, the ESS Retribution, watching the tactical display update with enemy positions. 200 Krillian ships in perfect formation, confident in their overwhelming numbers. They had no idea death was already among them. "All ships, assume attack positions," Elena commanded. "Target their command vessels first. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we vanish before they know what happened." The Ghost Fleet moved through space like sharks through dark water. Their hulls absorbed every wavelength of electromagnetic radiation, making them invisible to optical sensors. Their quantum drives produced no detectable signatures. Even their weapons were designed to strike without revealing the shooter's position. War Commander Thexfar was reviewing troop deployment reports when his flagship shuddered. Emergency klaxons began wailing, and damage reports flooded in from across the ship. "What happened?" he roared. "Unknown, War Commander," his tactical officer replied, all four hands dancing across control surfaces. "We've lost primary power to decks 7 through 12. No enemy contacts detected. No weapons fire observed." Before Thexvar could respond, another Krillian ship exploded in brilliant silence. Then another. Across his fleet, vessels were dying without warning, their shields failing and hulls breaching as invisible attackers struck from impossible angles. All ships, defensive formation. Thexvar commanded, "Return fire. Find the enemy." But there was nothing to shoot at. The Krillian ships fired wildly into empty space, their weapons illuminating nothing but vacuum and starlight. Meanwhile, the Ghost Fleet continued its deadly work with methodical precision. Commander Price, aboard the ESS Phantom, watched his targeting computer acquire another enemy vessel. "Firing quantum torpedoes," he reported calmly. The weapons materialized inside the target ship's hull, bypassing shields entirely before detonating with devastating effect. Sarah Chen and her colonists watched from their underground shelters as the sky above New Geneva erupted in fire. Krillian ships that had seemed invincible just moments before were burning and dying, falling from orbit like broken angels, but they couldn't see what was killing them. "Ma'am," Communications Specialist Rivera called out, her voice filled with wonder. "I'm receiving a transmission on our emergency frequency. It's from Earth Defense Command." Sarah's hand shook as she activated the communicator. A calm female voice filled the command center. "New Geneva Colony, this is Admiral Elena Vasquez of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. Hold your positions. Help has arrived." Tears ran down Sarah's face as she realized the impossible had happened. Earth had heard their cry for help and answered. Somehow, across impossible distances and through enemy blockades, humanity's guardians had come. War Commander Thexvar watched his proud fleet crumble around him. Half his ships were gone, destroyed by an enemy he couldn't see or track. His remaining vessels huddled together like frightened children, firing at shadows while death struck from every direction. "War Commander," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission. It's from the humans." "Put it through," Thexvar snarled. Admiral Elena Vasquez's voice filled the Krillian flagship's bridge, calm and implacable. "War Commander Thexvar of the Krillian Third Fleet, you are ordered to withdraw from this system immediately. Your siege of New Geneva is over." Thexvar's mandibles clicked in rage. "Impossible. Where are your ships? Show yourselves, coward." "We are already here," Elena replied. "We have been here for the last 20 minutes, dismantling your fleet piece by piece. You have 60 seconds to begin withdrawal, or we will finish the job." The war commander stared at his tactical display. 30 ships left out of 200. No enemy contacts detected. No hope of victory. For the first time in his military career, Thexvar felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. "All ships," he commanded quietly, "begin withdrawal from the system." As the broken remnants of the Krillian fleet limped away from New Geneva, the Ghost Fleet remained invisible, watching and waiting. Only when the last enemy vessel had entered hyperspace did they finally decloak, appearing around the liberated colony like guardian angels made manifest. Sarah Chen stood on the surface of New Geneva for the first time in months, breathing real air under real sunlight. Around her, colonists emerged from their shelters, pointing up at the sleek ships that hung in the sky like protective spirits. Children laughed and ran through streets they thought they'd never see again. "Administrator Chen," came Admiral Vasquez's voice over the communicator. "This is Admiral Elena Vasquez. Are you and your people safe?" Sarah looked around at her colony, scared but unbroken, populated by humans who had faced impossible odds and survived. "We are now, Admiral. We are now." The siege of New Geneva was over, but its impact would echo across the galaxy. Word spread quickly that humanity possessed weapons and technology beyond imagination. that they would travel any distance and face any odds to protect their own. The age of underestimating humanity had ended in fire and shadow. War Commander Thexvar would spend the rest of his life trying to explain to the Krillian High Command how his invincible fleet had been destroyed by an enemy that couldn't be seen. But he would never forget the lesson learned in the darkness above New Geneva. When you threaten humanity's children, you don't fight their armies. You fight their nightmares.